Hello and welcome to the Vital Redpill. Reporting on recent events is quite messy and annoying, as facts change when the whole situation develops further. Before we start with the somewhat convoluted and not fully scripted part of the video, let me give you a quick rundown. Lauched, the laughing man, had not yet stepped down. I guess he hopes that until the big election in the end of September, most people will have forgotten about his inexcusable action. The flooded areas are very big, at least 40 square miles or 100 square kilometers in size. Some say it's the biggest destruction event in Germany since the Second World War. And judging by the videos and reports of the area, this might be very true. The problem is now that maybe in some parts the government is helping a lot, and in other parts the government is doing almost nothing. Because of the sheer size of the affected area and the massive chaos, take everything said here with a grain of salt. But the overall narrative remains the same. The government was warned days in advance, but failed to warn the people. Many got totally surprised by a tsunami-like water wave. That wave reached up to 9 meters or 30 American feet in height. Then, afterwards, the governmental response came too late, and there was too little. The people had to do all the cleanup stuff themselves. Massive amounts of private help came. That's the good news. I heard the rumor that from the THW, the technical help crew, those guys Germany always sends to catastrophic areas as help. For example, after earthquakes or floodings, we send them to the foreign countries where they can help. From them, there are about 80,000 in Germany. About 40,000 of them, this is their main job. So from these 40,000 potentially highly trained helpers, there are only 2,500 present in the flooded area. Something is definitely not working well. And there are many reports that the helpers were just sitting around in their cars or their rooms because their help was not officially requested, so they had no order to leave their barracks, so to speak. Whatever happened, something went totally wrong. In the eyes of the public who watches any alternative media source or know somebody in the affected area, the government has failed completely and lost a lot of credibility. Or the whole thing is different as it seems, and the whole rabbit hole goes much deeper than expected, and everything actually makes sense. But that's a topic for a follow-up video. A conspiratorial follow-up video. Now let's start with my initial recording. Hello and welcome to the Vital Redpill. Today an update on the flooding situation in Germany. Today is the 21st July 2021. First things first, the laughing man, Armin Laschet, has still not stepped down. The media reports on him laughing were as follows. The main state-run #1 news site in Germany, Tagesschau.de, had a subsection of an article on him laughing the day it happened. The next day, in the early morning, there was a small article on him laughing. The sad aspect was that the reporter tried to spin it as a political attack on Laschet. He said it was his opponent's party who had spread this video of him laughing via Twitter. They truly dared to attack the messenger to distract from the message. But currently the idea, as it seems, is to sit it out, to ignore it until people forget. As since the afternoon, him laughing was not a topic in the news anymore. But surprisingly other media have kept on reporting on him and his unexcusable action. Many reporting in an honest manner, for example asking what did he find so funny that day? The 100+ people that died, the thousands of destroyed homes, the awful smell of the contaminated water, petrol from petrol stations, oil from oil house heating systems, lots of human excrement from destroyed canalization pipes, and all the other random stuff that people had lying around in their houses. All that is now in the water. Was that something he found funny? In my eyes, Laschet is done for. I assume the only reason why he did not step down by now is that he himself is how should I say it? A man without empathy. A man who only focuses on his own career. Evidence for that would be that "I am sorry" tweet he posted, where he did not regret his laughing, but the image that his laughing had created. Fun part, Baerbock was their plan A, and it seems that she fell because of her own incompetence. Laschet was their plan B, but it seems he fell because of his arrogance. Political parties are tearing each other apart, and the awake German people are doing their part also.
Every political persona that is being carefully crafted fails in record time, for one reason or the other. Number 3, Olaf Scholz, had so far almost no media coverage, and all the other candidates of course also not. Let's see how the spin doctors will try to save this mess. Short interruption, fun facts about the names of the political candidates. Annalena Charlotte Alma Baerbock is her full name. Now look at the initials. Yeah, according to Wikipedia, these 4 letters were very popular in the punk and youth scene when she was born in 1980. Armin Laschet had for sure a bad childhood, as his surname is only 1 letter away from Lasche, colloquial for loser. Du bist eine Lasche means in German, you are such a loser. Armin Laschet is eine Lasche. This phrase he had heard for sure 1,000 times in his childhood. Okay, now back to the main topic. There are no recent questionnaires about who Germany would elect as a chancellor if they could. In Germany, the chancellor is selected indirectly, but as every party has only one main candidate, the biggest winning party's candidates becomes the chancellor almost all of the time. So, this poll from last week, every big candidate gets 21%. Let's see how this will develop in the future. Also, dear YouTube commenters here, please use family-friendly language and avoid bad language and illegal words. YouTube deletes comments that do not follow these rules. If you have something super important to tell me, then send me an email. Link is in the description. During this video I will show scenes from the flooded area. They are from the channel Olli. He has a PayPal money pool donation address linked. It is one from his local guys who is buying equipment from that money, so it's one of the best donation options I have found so far. The money will be used locally and not wasted. Link in the description. So now, was it all preventable? How much do we know now that it's a few days later? Well, the answer is that many departments and systems have failed greatly. The European Weather Alert Forecast System had warned Germany around 4 days in advance, but those warnings did not reach their destined target. Instead, as can be seen from these pre-flood articles, the dams were full of water days before the big flood. It even states here, this dam here is super full, something that is very unusual for this time of year. So yeah, the dams were full and they knew there was gonna rain a lot, but somehow they did nothing. Intermission. Quick rundown on dams. Pro arguments can be used to control hard to control waters, such as the Nile River, creating a more stable environment for humans. Can be used for electric power generation. The dams can adjust the power generation in a very short time, and this is super important in the current year, as when the wind stops blowing and there are some clouds, all the wind turbines and solar panels stop producing electricity. Without the dams and their ability to quickly adjust for these type of cases, renewable energy is simply not possible, or would be even more expensive than it is now. Contrapoints. Destruction of nature. Insert a picture of a purposely flooded town here. Second negative point. Only nukes are more dangerous. Dams can, and do, fail. Humans love to settle next to rivers, so it's a disaster waiting to happen. Dams, of course, are #1 military target, everybody knows that, as only a few well-placed bombs can kill thousands or millions of people and destroy whole areas. See World War II dam buster bombs for more information. In a golden future timeline, we will have new power generating technology that will make full dams a thing of the past, hopefully. A lot of our current infrastructure is purposely built to be very fragile. For example, the lack of warehouses and the on-demand delivery structure of our current economic system. If you have more personal examples of purposely fragile infrastructure, please write them down in the comments. I might do a video on that topic in the future. Okay, now back to the text. So, the dams were full, and somebody knew that a hell of a lot of more rain is coming. Emergency release of water could have been done in advance or something similar. There are many indicators that either huge parts of the government were extremely incompetent and slow, or that it might have been all done on purpose. As somebody in a YouTube comment stated, one system failure happens from time to time. 2 system failures at once are suspicious. And if 3 systems fail at the same time, That's an indicator for outside involvement. So many fails are inexcusable. Either some foreign power sabotaged and secretly planned all this, or the government accidentally failed and caused the worst possible outcome. Either way too many people died. But wait, it gets worse. There are more and more reports of plunderings. The people are exhausted. They clean their own stuff the whole day and then help the neighbor to clean his stuff. But some, let's call them politely human beings, drive to the flooded areas and take everything they can. For example, the stuff the house owners leave outside in the yard for drying. Other reports state that rims from cars are also getting stolen. And other thieves simply take the raw materials, meaning everything with copper inside is a potential target. Other reports report that stealing emergency power generators are also a thing. Why did the water pump stop pumping? Let me go upstairs and check. Oh, the power generator is gone. And I see a man over there running away with it. But I simply have no power left in me to run after him. But what does the police do? There are many reports of police being used for political goals, to say it politely. During the last year of the Big C, many personalities of the alternative media scene rose to great popularity in Germany. Now, in these times of need, they are organizing help, collecting donations and reporting on the local situation. He and many others drove to the flooded areas and they help as much as they can. They are walking through the mud with a shovel in their hands and they do not fear the dirt. As far as I could see, it's a great morale boost for the local population to see that, hey, somebody is caring for us, because the government is not giving them any feeling of that they're being taken care of. Now back to the police. The police, as can be seen here in these videos, was called, the accusation was that it would be a Querdenker demonstration. The Querdenker movement can be translated to those who think outside of the box. Was a movement that organized the biggest events of the anti-corona demonstrations of the last year. See this video of mine if you want to have more context. Currently, the Querdenkers are being accused of being close to right-wing and Nazi ideologies. Some people of that scene already have left Germany, and some went to the ex-German pre-World War I colony, now called Tanzania. Tanzania was the country where the ex-president tested motor oil, papayas and goat blood with the corona tests he had. That was of course highly unscientific and caused a lot of fake news last year, with statements like, papayas are tested positive for corona, but motor oil is safe, as it is negative. That president died recently. Now back to Germany. So, according to the mainstream press, those right-wing and conspiracy-minded evil people are helping the people who have lost everything in the floods. But be warned, they do it only to push their own agenda, according to the news. They are being accused of instrumentalizing those who are those people who are underground and helping the people are being accused of instrumentalizing the suffering of the people for their own political gains. As if the politicians are not doing even worse things. They achieve this by helping the local population more than the government does. As Rockefeller said, competition is a sin. Check out the documentary on Big Oil from the Corbett Report channel if you don't know what I'm referring to. So, these few guys and girls who managed to collect insane amounts of money, like €500,000, can you imagine what the government could do with €500,000? Are competing against the government of the fourth richest country on this world or planet. And they do it very successfully. Now, financial companies do not want to send the collected money to the damaged area because they do not want to support these helpers. Was maybe this hyper-politicization of everything one of the main causes for the total failure of the warning systems? It's really like a kindergarten here. Nobody dares to do anything because something maybe. According to Evening News, the danger that these right-wing helpers are causing is that they are, for example, releasing videos, and in those videos they show the supposed failure of the German government. So that's what they're doing. And that's why it's... I cannot follow the logic, sorry. So, we also have videos like this here of the police stopping buses of helpers, checking their papers to make sure that no Querdenker is amongst them. all while the damaged areas are turning into lawless plundering hotspots. And also there was another report that cannot be falsified or proven because everything is hearsay at the moment. They said that there was a group of firemen, and these firemen walked through the street and used megaphones to warn people that a new flood is coming and they should leave quickly. Many people packed their stuff and ran away. Then, only a few minutes later, a big group of men stormed that street and robbed all the empty houses of all the remaining valuables. Some valuables were, for example, in the second, third floor. They were safe until they were stolen. So it seems organized crimes in times of a crisis is also a new German thing. Yeah, but on the other hand, there were also reports that everything was working fine with the local police. It's very hard to give a representative report of such a big area. It's bigger than 100 square kilometers. That's around 40 square miles. Many towns and cities are affected. I guess one or more dams broke, because this is the only way that could describe what was happening, as the inhabitants reported that tsunami-like huge wave coming through their towns. One lady reported that an elderly woman was taken away by the wave. She was standing on her balcony on the first floor. They tried to hold her and pull her back, but the waters were too strong. Currently, the death number is estimated at around 150 people, and at least 150 are reported missing. But given the chaos of the whole situation, the numbers should be taken with a big grain of salt. Some people are simply totally lost, mentally and physically. Other helpers who went there to help have said that normally one would expect professionals to do this type of job, as they have seen things in the mud and in the rubble that they will never be able to forget. Now, back to some good news. Solidarity is rising. Some hotels, for example, have offered a 100% free stay for local people. Even pets are explicitly allowed to stay. The Formula 1 racetrack, the Nürburgring, it's around half an hour to 1 hour away by car from the flooded areas. The Nürburgring has offered 300 portable Dixie toilets free of charge. Now, more and more police, military and THW, more and more of these are in the area. Also, lots of normal people who simply get into the car and drove there also started to appear and are helping. They are simply going from house to house and ask if anything can be done. One person said that despite all the pictures on the TV of military and THW help, the most help by far is done by local farmers and local small companies. Small companies that have trucks or other big tools or other big cars that can be used, or maybe even more specialized equipment. A non-fun fact, the floodings have damaged many roads and also have brought lots of debris onto the roads, so tires get damaged and pierced easily. The local farmers are losing many tires by helping out, but they don't care. Some tires can be repaired, but it's still a danger that should not be underestimated. The best news of this whole happening is that many people are giving a lot to help their fellow men. Farmers who are sacrificing tire after tire just to help to bring the whole crap out of the city. Really motivating things to see. And now, to the very opposite. Politicians. Merkel has visited the flooded areas, as have other politicians. But their coming was associated with great costs. For example, the speech where Laschet was laughing in the background. Later on, he also held his own speech. For that speech, the whole fire department had to be cleared. Trucks had to be parked outside, only to allow some politicians to look important on camera. Only after they were all gone, only then the fire department could continue helping. And as if that's not enough, before that said important interview, all local people were sent away by the police. It seems that they wanted to prevent angry local people messing with their pre-written, so super important speeches. Also, other reports have stated that the visits of politicians binds a lot of human resources. So, technically speaking, by visiting the areas, they are preventing helpers from helping, and police from doing their police stuff, as the police has now to protect those supposedly high-value VIPs. Baerbock herself, I have just found out, has also visited the areas but without any camera crews, so at least she was not binding any resources. And she stopped her holiday. And her partner, the second Green Party leader, he said that he will not go to the flooded areas because he does not want to bind human resources for political actions, and he said that he cannot do anything anyway. And now to the climate change narrative. The politicians and many related media, press, newspapers, and mainstream media outlets have the audacity to declare the climate change as the direct cause of the floodings. One mayor of a flooded city, the one that Merkel had visited, confronted Merkel and stated that the town had had major floodings even 200 years ago, back then when there was no man-made climate change. The camera sadly did not capture Merkel's face when he was confronting her. So not everybody is following along with that narrative. Also many meteorologists, including Germany's most famous one, are not agreeing with the climate change narrative angle. They clearly say that these floodings were not caused by climate change, and these two things cannot be connected here. How dare they? Important corruption-related aspect. Many insurance companies are trying to find ways to not pay out the damages caused, of course. Maybe they have paid a small sum to the government to push the climate change angle, as that could maybe somehow save the insurance companies from paying out what I would guess would be billions of euros. In one word, lobbyism. Economically speaking, that would be a very sound approach. So maybe that's what's happening. Or maybe it's just a type of advertisement for the Green Party. It's the party with, well, climate change in their name. Now, as you surely know from life experience, the biggest dangers of floods and the following cleanup operations is, of course you guessed it, the lack of corona vaccinations. The German government is aware of this danger and has quickly and efficiently managed in record time to bring several vaccination buses to the affected areas. Rumors are going around that the whole area will be declared a corona hotspot in a few days. That then the following quarantine would drastically reduce the amount of outsiders that could stay there and help. As for today, Wednesday the 21st of June, these are just rumors. Speaking of rumors, there's this young man here. He states that he and 300 other firemen came with their fire trucks to the affected area, but because they're firemen, not private people, they require an order before they can act, and according to him, all affected areas did not give them any order. So, because they were not tasked to help, all they could do was drive back home. Why am I stating this as a rumor? Because I find it suspicious that there are no pictures or videos of this whole huge track of fire trucks. If there were so many people, somebody should have taken a picture or video.
Wir waren mit knapp 300 Leuten da. Wir sind von Niedersachsen nach Nordrhein-Westfalen gerufen worden, um da zu helfen. Und tatsächlich standen wir die meiste Zeit rum. Wir wollten helfen. Aber wir durften nicht, weil uns der Ort, die Stadt, ich weiß nicht, was es ist, Euskirchen, keinen Auftrag erteilt hat.
Now back to politics. There's a almost daily occurring governmental press conference in Berlin. Recently, reporters asked the governmental speakers, when exactly did the German government know that the floods were coming? When exactly were they informed? How many days in advance? The ladies, the speakers of the house, so to speak, were not able to answer this question. They used the usual weak excuses like, but we will inform you when we know. And as stated before, this question was already answered. And this all culminated in the simple remark of a reporter who simply asked, well, what type of questions did you expect for today? This is the only question on everybody's minds. Did you not prepare for that? It was pretty shameful. On other recent news, one city, as far as I can tell, or town, managed to give relief money to its residents. They all could stand in line and receive 2,000 euros cash on hand. Oh, did I say 2,000? I meant, of course, 200. That's approximately 240 US dollars. Keep in mind, Germany is the 4th largest economy in the world. No country pays more taxes than we do. And the government is well stacked with money. And all they were able to give were 200 euros. Lessons to be learned here. Prepare an emergency backpack. When the floods came, some people had less than a minute before the water arrived. If you had to leave your current place in 1 minute, what would you pack? What could you pack? What would you have to leave behind? If you're not content with the answers to these 3 questions, then adjust. Prepare, as long as you have time. Keep in mind, panic and fear is the mind killer. When you panic, you cannot think straight. Having a simple set-out plan, best a plan that your whole family knows and has trained for, is key. Preppers, so the German government said, are bad people. They are right-wing and yada 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 yada, you know the drill. Because they believe that in extreme situations, be it a flooding or a massive winter storm, the government would not be there to protect them. How dare they thinking of this? The government is your mother and father. They will take care of you like they take care of a child. This is the official language of the government, of course. This literally like narrative has cost people's lives. Better safe than sorry. I think the government is legally not obliged to help you. The whole flood was a very hard red pill awakening for many, many people. They thought the government would care for them, but it didn't. It does nothing. It even starts to villainize those who do help. China is currently also experiencing great floods. I hope it will not get worse. Speaking of China, according to this tweet, the horrible flood management of the German government has damaged Germany's previously very good reputation in China. Germany was, maybe still is, regarded as a very super high-tech country. There are even objectively false rumors / urban stories where the final punchline is that Germany is a super great engineering country. Write in the comments if you want to hear the full story. But all this might change now a bit, and not to the better. The German government's incompetence has left a global impact. Great. As you have watched all this now, under the last video there were some comments comparing the situation with the sinking of the ferry in South Korea. Watch the 8 Goddesses video if you don't know what I'm talking about. Given all the currently available facts, this is even a possible explanation. The other explanation could be that the whole event, especially the narrative of it all being caused by climate change, could be a type of advertisement for the Green Party. The current Green Party's main candidate, Baerbock, see my previous video on her if you don't know who she is. She's making one big mistake after another. So maybe this whole event, or at least the spin, using the narrative spin that it's all climate change, is the idea to bring her back to the front position. Let's see. And now there's a second eyewitness report / letter from the same person that had written the first one. The key message is that people feel betrayed by the government, left alone in times of the greatest need. Let me translate it to you on the fly again. There was not even a single siren that was warning us in the night. We not only feel helpless, but we feel abandoned. A letter from the catastrophic flooding area. Firstly, I would like to thank that you have published my first letter. It's not easy to write, especially when your house is half destroyed and the cell reception is very bad. But the alternative would be to drive to one of the reception towers to get better reception. Anyway, to all readers that are in doubt of our situation, let me tell you, it barely got a little bit better. It doesn't rain anymore, and by now many people are helping wherever help is needed. Everybody's doing something to help the community. Many days now after the flood, we are starting to see what really happened. Many places still have no electricity, or warm or not even clean water. People are cleaning all the houses. Everywhere is a very big bad smell, and all the roads are plastered with stuff that had to be thrown away. On the fields you can see cars that have been dragged away by the flood, trash cans and a lot of trash. Everything is full of mud. Many roads cannot be driven on, many are just broken away, and some small tunnels are still underwater. The fact that this whole catastrophe was preventable and seen in advance, I have already stated it in my last letter. It was already mentioned many times in the media. In North Rhine-Westphalia, the state I'm currently in, I declare Minister Reul responsible for internal things. I blame him that he did not act anything. Also Seehofer, another politician from Bavaria, I have to tell him that the warning system did not work as intended. If we would have been warned in advance, for example in Oderndorf, 8 meters was the water at the highest point, then we would have been evacuated earlier, or we would have received a warning via radio, cell phones, TV or internet. But there was not even a single warning siren in the night. The only sirens I heard were the ones from the ambulance cars. My warning app on the phone only showed strong rain, heavy rain. Now the flooding is gone, and the ambulances are also gone. We have no support anymore, only ourselves. The wet houses and trouble everywhere is now our problem. We not only feel helpless, but forgotten. The army is now guarding parts of towns and blocking the entrance to them with machine guns. And there are still only the local farmers and local companies that are helping with pumps. Whoever has Facebook tells where help is required, and this is where we go. Tomorrow the next cellar will be cleaned. I would like again to remark the evacuation of the totally flooded Oderndorf. Now, 2 days later, with the help of my sister and her husband, I have found my children. The children and the other relatives reported that they had a life-threatening escape route that night. The house was flooded to the attic. The house is directly next to the river. Only via the attic they managed to escape onto the roof. Another road, the Obrachstraße, for example, was not evacuated at all. People there spent the whole night on the roofs while it was raining and it was very cold. From time to time, helicopters were flying above them, but the searchlights were not activated. The people tried to use their flashlights to start some SOS signals, but the helicopters did not react to this. The people on the roofs heard the cruel screams of people and animals, the water beneath them, the rain above them, and everything was very dark. There was no light. It appears that the helpers in the area were not locals, because that's the only way I can explain how this road could be completely left over and not seen. And in the meanwhile, the TV was playing music. No alarms, only music. The dams here are always filled with tourists, but as it seems, also not controlled at all. On the weekend we had catastrophe tourism here. Man, that is really nice to go to a catastrophic area to just watch. And also there was unhindered plundering tourism. As soon as the water was gone by a little, people came and are still coming with small buses and take everything they can with them. They're searching houses and taking everything with them if they can. Stuff that were only put there for drying were simply taken and stolen. What I wish to those individuals, I would not like to write publicly. And also this election tourism here. We have no idea how this could help the affected people, but whatever. No matter with whom I speak at the moment, nobody would like to see a politician now, because they all only do election stuff on our back. As Merkel was in the town of Schuld, an extremely affected area, and there she spoke of the climate change. The mayor confronted her. He said that floodings there were already before the climate change. The face of Merkel was not shown on TV. Also, very good for Frau Dreyer, a politician who has multiple sclerosis, so she requires a wheelchair. She continues, nice for her that she, with her sickness, with her disease, had shown herself riding an electric scooter, an electric wheelchair. But this electric wheelchair cannot have been charged here. But I can tell you after many talks that I had here, that all of here are speaking of a collective failure of the government. Our votes none of them will get. 5 days after the catastrophe, we are still asking ourselves where the help will come, how the help will look like, and how the money will be distributed, if there's even any at all. How it will be distributed, and where I can apply to get some. The house in Oderndorf is a total ruin. Everything that was inside is gone or destroyed, not usable anymore. All the cars are only fit for scrap. They're useless. All the furniture, electronics, and other equipment is totally destroyed. There's some few that have understood how instant help is done. For example, the Telecom and Vodafone, two phone providers, have increased their mobile data volume to 100 gigabytes per day for all contract owners. And then there are other companies, Drillisch, O2 or 1&1, 1&1. If you have those, well, you're bad luck, because those companies did not adjust their volume for the affected areas. That this is the only way to get some information, well, it seems that not everybody has understood that yet. Despite the fact that we are all tired and finished, we cannot simply leave it as it is. We have to wait and work. I would like to thank you all for your kind words and also to the help of the voluntarily helpers. I have no idea how I could ever repay you all this. And do not ever rely on the government, because those who rely on the government will be abandoned. In Germany it rhymes. It's wer sich auf unsere Regierung verlässt, ist verlassen. Then she says, the failure of the government is documented in the pictures above. The pictures show Oberndorf. Pictures were taken at 7 in the evening on the 14th of June. Even at that moment there was no option to leave the place, to leave the town. But at this moment there was no help and not even a single warning anywhere.
For the final words, I could talk to you about how a reporter was caught mud-handed putting dirt on her face to create the impression that she was recently helping in the warzone. Or I could talk about how politicians did not do an emergency meeting. Instead, at a scheduled regular meeting on Wednesday, the flood was on the weekend, decided to release whole 300 million euros as emergency help. I could also talk how the flood funds, the emergency flood fund, the money that people would get in this type of bad situations, was cut, and the whole money was instead put into the refugee fund. I could also talk about a recent summer interview of Lauched, where he was giving the softest of questions. Or I could talk about how Fridays for Future are planning a solidarity march against the climate in order to help the flooded areas or something like that. But instead, let's end on something uplifting. In times of crisis, people show their true face. They show what they're really made of. Politicians, let's stop talking about them. The true thing that has revealed itself were the German people themselves. It is incredible how much help was done. Many people simply got into their car and drove to the affected area and started helping, without asking for anything in return. Farmers, instead harvesting their crops, started to help as much as they can, because they have the tools for it. Then, as the news traveled, whole tire repair companies sent support trucks to the damaged areas in order to help to fix the tires of the farmers who were working so tirelessly. Then, even some tire companies have sent whole sets of tires to the damaged areas in order to help out the farmers and all the people who are helping. And even tractor repair companies have sent their stuff and tool cars, emergency tool kits, in order to help fix the damaged trucks and tractors. And many other small and big acts of real solidarity have happened in the last days. As you have seen the videos, it really looks like a war zone. And some people even had similar experiences. They said that when they went back home from the zone, they felt as if they have betrayed their fellow men. They wanted to go back and help, because just being at home, sitting in your comfortable house, felt bad to them, because they knew they could be in the mud and help out to clean cellars out of dirt and mud, things that are normally only known in real war zones. For many, it was an awakening experience on many levels. On the psychological level, they realized that the government is not as good as your fellow man who really cares about you. And also on a personal level, because they realized that just a few people can get a lot of stuff done. You are not as powerless as you think, or are made to believe. The government likes to pump out itself as the big king of the world, but in reality, it's the small men who push the carts around, who make sure that every day everything is running smoothly. It is the small man who works every day to make sure that those who think that they are above us can talk their talks. For myself, I do my part by reporting on this whole situation to the English-speaking world, creating a time capsule of what happened in these days. If you want to donate some money to the people in need, the PayPal link is in the description. If you want to support my work, there's a video in the description on how you can do it in the best way. And, as always, find your life's path and take action. Vital Redpill out.